Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Midday Live with me, Sherry Perlman, therapist. Today, we're going to talk about how we can implement self care for ourselves as parents in order to be centered and emotionally available to our children. This time is really an opportunity for us to put some good practice into place so that we have better availability to ourselves and to our children, not just now, but in the future as well. So everybody's talking about putting your oxygen mask on first. What does that really mean? Let's see if we can really, get into the meat of it. So, first of all, if you are, hi David, if you are having a marital conflict or conflict with a friend or with a parent or struggling within yourself, your children are going to pick that up, even if you're faking it. They are magnets and pull in what we are feeling emotionally in order to know who we are, to create who they are. And they identify with us and with our feelings. So I urge you to not feel alone with it and go and talk about it and try to work through the feelings outside of the home so that you can feel differently inside. And when I mean outside of the home, I mean right now on Zoom, of course. So what else can we do? As parents, we can really structure our own day the day before with breaks. So we may need to ask our spouse for help with this. We may need to ask our parents to have Zoom sessions with our kids. We may need to ask a teenager, to have Zoom sessions with our kids, which would be very useful to them actually, because it will look fabulous for them when they're applying to colleges to say that they still continue to do community service during the worst time ever. So use the people that you can to give yourself breaks for reading, meditation, taking a walk with a friend, 6 to 12 feet away from them with a mask. Even if it's for 10 minutes a day, podcasts, so that you know that you have something to look forward to for yourself. The next idea is to give yourself longer to get things done. We are just not going to be functioning like the, well, waxed robots that we usually are, and this means that we have to aim to be imperfect, and that's really hard for a lot of us because we get a lot of our self-esteem from being close to perfect, and it doesn't mean that we're no good at all if we're not perfect. I think that many of us, we all have a conscience, and our conscience, of course, tells us if we're doing a good job or a bad job at something. And some of us have a range, of how strict our conscience is. So I'm sure that we have all had the experience of being in a car, going on the highway, the right speed, and having a police car with their lights flashing behind us, and we think, oh, we're going to get stopped. I'm doing something wrong. That's kind of on the, on one end of the continuum of a strict conscience. On the other end of the spectrum is a conscience that's really self-punishing, with where you hear a lot of intrusive voices of self-recrimination. I'm no good. I did that horribly. And that can really be self-sabotaging. It can cause you to self-sabotage at work, in an interview, and then once you self-sabotage, it's more reason to punish yourself. And this is a prime time to do that because we are really struggling by the seat of our pants. And I really urge you, for yourself, not just, for your kids, because they're going to, if you're suffering from this, it intrudes and impacts on your self-worth, and your kids are going to not only pick that up, but you're not going to be as patient with them if you're not patient with yourself. So if you're one of those people, and we all are, for reasons that we can talk about another time, if you're one of those people that is really critical, beyond, what you think is reasonable, get some help with it. You shouldn't have to suffer like that. Okay, next is rationing bad thoughts. I know that we all need to stay on top of the news, but for goodness sake, we don't have to do it several times a day. We can even take a break one day and get the news from somebody else because it's too much. It's really more than most of us can bear. And see if we can think about the silver linings, not to be Pollyannic, but there are silver linings to this. The death is horrible, but it does create more family time. It is an opportunity for us to slow down and think about what's most important, which to me is relationships. It'll give us a time to be more creative. Okay, what to do about the anxiety, which is the new normal. I like to think of anxiety in a few ways. First of all, we are anxious now because we like to think, unconsciously, we like to think that there is somebody in charge, taking care of us, taking care of things for us, whether that's a God, whether it's a parent, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a leader. And nobody is really, the scientists are trying very hard, but nobody is really taking care of us right now. And we're up close, personal to that, and that's scary. Another reason for anxiety is that we often have an unconscious fantasy that we're in control. And this is really breaking through our denial about the fact that we are not in control. We are in control of some very small things, but not of really the bigger picture. And that leaves us very open to being very anxious. I think we also feel very helpless about this and angry that we have to be so helpless and uncertain. And it's really important to name these feelings and to think about them during the day, at some circumscribed point of the day. Because naming the unknown, then we can manage it. So what do we do to cope with the ongoing anxiety? It's the underlying anxiety that I think would be good for us to take 3 times a day to do some deep breathing. 10 very deep breaths, holding them for 3 seconds, and letting them out slowly really can reset the sympathetic nervous system so that we're not as prone to getting, getting more anxious during the day for small things. Exercising and taking walks also decreases cortisol levels, stress hormone, and so that's also very important to do for ourselves, which we don't usually do for ourselves. Some of us do, but some of us are very busy and don't do that to take care of ourselves. This is also, our anxiety is also an opportunity to model for our children how to deal when we get uptight. So if we are in a hurry and we spill milk all over the floor, it's not great, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And we can model for them saying, I'm upset. I'm triggered now by this milk spilling. I don't have time for this. But is this really, on a scale of 1 to 10, an 8? Or in the scheme of things, is this a 3? And can I find a dial, a pretend dial in my brain, like a timer, that I can dial this anxiety and panic down from an 8 to a 3? And I'm going to take some deep breaths, and I'm going to wipe up the mess, and whoever I'm late for is going to have to wait for me and understand that I'm human. And that's really important for kids to see, that we are self-regulating and modeling for them how to do it for themselves, especially for kids. And we'll talk about this, not today, but, for the kids who have difficulty with self-regulation, of anger, of anxiety. So the last thing that I'm going to do, I'm keeping these webinars very short for right now so that people who are working can take a break and then get back to it. Check in with yourself during the day. Ask yourself how you're feeling. If you're starting to feel anger or sadness or anxiety, whatever it is, ask yourself what triggered it. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it? And can you dial it down? And what else can you do to take care of yourself in the moment and in general? So I'm going to end today with a quote that is not from me, and I apologize, I can't find who wrote it. I can later on if you'd like, but here we go. We will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal, other than we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. We are being given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. So, have a wonderful week. Next Tuesday, Midday Live, I'm going to continue to talk a little bit about parental self-care, and I'm going to start then to talk about how we can help our kids, how we can help them resolve conflict with each other during sibling rivalry, and how we can structure their day, how we can make them behavior charts that they can regulate on their own to free us up a little bit. Okay, so be good to yourselves, and this will be, I guess it'll be on in case you missed it. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Bye.